Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Ben. Ben is from England in the UK. So let's see what Ben has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello.
William, how are you?
Good morning, how are you, Ben?
I'm really good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you so much. What a beautiful day today, isn't it? In the morning it was raining.
I tell you what, this morning it was throwing it down, and then today, gorgeous sunshine's erupted. I've just come back from about an hour-long walk actually, which was good.
I went for a run this morning. It was like around 9 o'clock, 8:30, and literally it was raining, not heavily, but it was raining. And now I just was closing the curtain. I was like, oh my God, what's happening now?
No, it's beautiful now. It's always good to get outside and
absolutely
great outdoors. Good for you. Well, listen, thank you so much for asking me to have a bit of a chat with you.
No, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this project I'm working right now. Right, Ben, just before we start the game, tell me where you're from.
Okay, so I live in the countryside outside Cheltenham in the UK.
Right, and I was checking out your Instagram, and I was reading your you are a father, yeah, you are a dad, you are a stigma breaker, you are a paramedic, a counselor, a mental health advocate, a speaker, and a lover of life.
Absolutely,
wow.
we all should be.
Right, so tell me a little bit about your career, all of these professions you're doing right now. Tell me a little bit walk me through about your daily business.
So I am a registered paramedic, and I have been for well over a decade now. And before that, I worked in a very different environment. I worked in London, I worked in New York, I had a fantastic time, but I made the decision to become a paramedic. So I have worked in hospitals, in A&E, and I've worked on the road responding to traumatic calls. But since the pandemic, I've actually been working as a clinical governance lead for the National Health Service's COVID response service. So as you can imagine, it's been a pretty crazy 18 months.
Yes.
And then just before that, I was teaching soldiers and specialist units in medical skills. So I guess my career has always been centered around being a paramedic, but since then I've become a kind of qualified teacher, and obviously mental health is a huge passion of mine, so hence becoming a therapist. But I guess what pays the bills and what keeps a roof over my head for my son and I is my NHS work. And then the mental health work I do outside of that, really for me, it gives me a great sense of satisfaction. And I think my big passion is in sharing my story in a fun way, because I don't want people, especially men, but all people, to make the same mistakes that I made. So that's my passion really outside work.
I'm glad to know that your passion is to share your memories, because you're in the right place. This show is about share your memories in life, so you're in the right place.
Yeah, and the only reason we can learn is through experience, and if we've not experienced it, then we have to learn from other people. So we need to share our laughs, our stories, our mistakes, so we can all help each other.
Very good. So through the journey, I'm gonna ask some more questions about your passion, about your career, about your life, so we can discuss a little bit before between the questions. Okay?
Entirely up to you.
Very good, very good. So are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through memories in life and to share your point of views? So, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Here, my lovely box.
Let's do
it. Questions. Yeah, let's do it. I'm just gonna
play.
Great. I'm just gonna play a song now, just for us to move a little bit before the first question. Okay?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it, Ben.
Good.
And of course, I can see you're a dancer as well, to be part of your list as a dancer as well.
Oh, no.
Right, just before I take the first question, if there is a question you don't have an answer for, you don't want to answer, always can change and take another one, okay? It's all very friendly, all right?
Absolutely.
Right, first question is, if you were in a circus, yeah? Which character would you like to be and why?
Oh, Okay, so I'm going to try not to think about it. I would love to be a kind of acrobatic clown, because you know, you're just bringing joy and happiness to people of all ages, and you're sharing that fun and that joy. But I'd like to have a go at some of the high wire stuff as well. So I guess that answers that. Great question. Wow.
Very adventurous, yeah?
I think so. I'd like to try. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Second question. Let's do it. Right. Before the next question, I was watching your first video that you post online or Instagram. That's 2018. It was a very let's say challenging year for you because you're diagnosed with disorder, depression. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit about it, and what's the most positive thing you took out of this challenge moment in your life in 2018?
Okay, so I was hospitalized twice in 2018 with some really quite horrible physical symptoms, and nobody knew what they were. And eventually I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and associated anxiety and depression because of my time as a paramedic and also my time working alongside the British Army. And I had to know, for me, I had to understand how on earth I'd ended up there. So that started my journey of knowledge and learning, and I took loads of courses and things like that, and eventually that's why I got my qualifications in mental health. And the biggest lesson I learned from my mistakes is that we need to encourage everybody to speak with equal measure about their mental health as they do with their physical health. Our mental health is as important as our physical health. So I guess that's the big lesson that I learned, is to pay attention with equality to both and to talk to people.
And when you had this challenge moment in your life, 2018, how long took you to recover, like, through the process when it happened?
I think when someone is diagnosed with something like that, or someone has a breakdown or nervous breakdown, I think you're always recovering. I think it's lifelong, but I guess my initial recovery was about 4 to 5 months.
All right. All right. Next question for you is, what is your idea of a perfect friendship?
Okay, a perfect friendship must be somebody who accepts you for all of your good points and bad points, and is somebody who is there to celebrate your good news with you, but also somebody who is there straight away if very sadly you have some bad news. And I always say to everybody that a real good true friendship is normally a small number you can count on your hand. And it's much more important to have those genuine connections with people than it is to have thousands of acquaintances. So yeah, that's my definition.
I agree. I think friendship, like a real friendship, you don't choose friends. It happens naturally. It's a chemistry. When the chemistry is there, it's done. It's like a relationship.
Absolutely. And I always say reason, season, lifetime. So there's always a reason that somebody comes into your life, and they're either there for a season to either help you or you to help them, or they're there for a lifetime. And it's those lifetime ones that are very precious that we must hang on to. And we must work at ensuring that it's always transactional. You know, it's never one-sided. It's really important. But I'm lucky I've got some super good friends. In fact, I saw them for a dinner last night and it was great fun.
It's interesting saying that, Ben, because I remember when I was young, I remember when I've been away from Brazil since I was 19 years old, and I was living in Portugal. So imagine how many people crossed my life. And I remember when I was a teenager, like I said, I was 19 when I came to Europe. And I remember sometimes like nice people, as you said about periods, some friend, they come, they go. And when I was young, I suffered about it because I said, oh my God, I want this person around, but it's part of life. Some people, they come, leave a message, you learn a lesson, or you know what I mean, and they go, and they're gonna be there like in history. Sometimes they can come back again. You know, sometimes talk to someone that haven't talked like for years, and you feel like I felt like I talked to you yesterday. So it's all about people come and go, and they leave a message, they leave a lesson, they leave something negative or positive as well. And in the end, it's just crossing lives. Some people, they stay as best friends, they stayed. You know what I mean? So that's what my idea as well, friendship. But when I was younger, I remember suffering about it. Oh my God, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to be, I want this person to be around. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't.
And well, I think you and I completely agree on what a decent friendship is. So that's good to hear. Good.
Yeah, very good. Next question. Let's do it. Okay, Ben, next question for you is, what are the top 3 things on your bucket list?
Oh, on my bucket list. Okay, I've been very lucky because I've already done quite a number of things that I want to do. But I'd love to travel to South Africa. I've never been to parts of South Africa, and I'd love to travel to South America. That's another continent that I've not been to. Some friends have gone and said it's beautiful and you must go. I'd love to go and see the Northern Lights actually as well from a boat. I love being out on the water, so I'd love to do that. So yeah, so I guess if money was no object, those would be my 3 bucket things. But it's not so much about what you're actually doing, it's about who you're doing it with, I guess, as well. I think that's also really, really important. So let's say that somebody come up to you and say, okay, Ben, you can go to South America like next week. Which country would you choose to go first? I would want to travel through all of them, because for me, whenever you visit a country, personally, I'm not interested in going to a big 5-star hotel and just being secluded there for 2 weeks, because you don't experience the people, you don't experience the culture. I was very lucky when I was younger. I was 13. I went to school in Russia for a little bit. I've spent time in lots of different countries through some of my work. So what I always love doing is meeting people and meeting different cultures, trying different foods. I spent a couple of weeks going through the great deserts in Africa on motorbikes with some friends, and we stayed with tribes, we stayed with the Egyptian army, we stayed with friends, and it was just fantastic. So that's how I like to travel. So it's very difficult to give you a correct answer because I've not been to those countries yet. So ask me after I've been and I'll tell you.
Right, I'm not going to put you in the spot. I was about to put in the spot regarding that, but I said, okay, I'm going to leave. I'll leave like that. Next one. All right, before the next question, as you have the experience of living abroad and studying as well, what is the misconception of people has about Britain, about England, that's correct? And what's the misconception that is right? What's your opinion?
So I moved out to New York 1 week after 9/11. So it was really, although it was very upsetting to be there, it was also a real privilege to be there. I think it was a very special time, but they all called me British Ben. And what I found really funny is they had such a stereotypical view of English people, and they either thought that I lived in a little thatched cottage in the countryside with a cow outside called Daisy, or they thought I lived in a massive castle with butlers and horses and my own army. They didn't understand that, in England, we also live in a very similar way to lots of other parts of Western Europe and Northern America. So I think that was the biggest misconception.
Right, and what's the thing that people got right? A concept about the stereotype about England?
That generally people are friendly. I think they were, absolutely right about that. But I think the media, especially films, portray different countries with certain stereotypes. So part of the great thing about traveling is you can break down those stereotypes and those barriers, and you can get to meet people. But yeah.
Good, very good. Next question for you is, what's the best and the worst of living in your place where you're living right now, in your city, in your town?
Okay, so the best bit about where I live now is it's in the countryside. So I have beautiful views. I've got some hills over to the right of me, and I'm surrounded by fields. So when I go running or go walking with the dogs, it really grounds me. And I guess the negative thing is sometimes when the weather's really bad, we can get flooded. And in fact, last Christmas Eve, it came in the house.
No.
Yeah, so that was fun. And also sometimes if the wind's in the right direction, William, I can hear the big motorway that's just over there. But you get used to it. So I guess overall, I feel really lucky.
How far is from London?
So I can drive to London in about 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay.
I used to live and work in London, so I know it quite well. I love to visit London, but I also like to come away from London and just be in the countryside. So yeah.
Very good, very good. Next question, Ben, let's do it.
I'm trying to get the dog dancing. No, he doesn't want to dance, okay.
Next question for you is, what things do you consider to be relationship deal breakers?
Morality.
Right.
I think someone needs to have a good, strong moral compass. I think it needs to be about compromise and trust. So a deal breaker for me would be breaking down that trust, or persistent, consistent lying, I think is another one. Yeah. And yeah, I'm trying to think to give you a specific example. But I guess those are the main ones. You know, someone who's true to themselves, and yeah, trust and lying, I think is a good one. I mean, ultimately, they're there to be your best friend, aren't they?
Absolutely. And about communication as well. Communication, if you don't communicate, like, you know what I mean? There's always a communication. If there's, you don't be there.
And I think as we get older, we realize that the foundation for any good relationship is that solid friendship.
Oh yes.
Because that's what that is what's going to sustain it over time.
Yeah.
I've definitely learned that the hard way. Yeah.
Next one. Let's do it. Okay, Ben from England. Next question for you is, tell me 3 fun facts about yourself.
Okay, so I can play 4 or 5 different musical instruments.
Oh, wow.
I used to jump out of planes. And what's another fun thing? I have about 15 tattoos, but you can never see them. So there you go. Three fun facts.
Very fun, very fun. And how old were you when you had your first tattoo? Oops. 16. And do you think you're gonna still, you know, some people, they start doing tattoos, they always do. Do you think you're gonna carry on doing it, or you kind of stop it?
I think for me, every tattoo I've got tells a story about an important time in my life. So they're very personal to me. So the answer to that question, William, is I just don't know. I guess it depends what life throws at me. So you know, I've got some that remind me of very spiritual places for me. I've got others that remind me about personal mantras and how to behave to myself and to others. So I guess we'll just see what life throws at me, I guess.
When you put your arm like that, I could see what a tattoo here in your arm. What that means, this one in specific. I didn't mean this one, but okay, you can show this one. Yes.
So this one is a picture of the beach by a holiday house that we have, which is somewhere where I love going, spending time on the sea. This one up here is a personal mantra from when I was unwell. This one here is...
Oh yeah, this one I saw. Yeah, this one.
So that's about guidance. It's also to do with the military. And then this one here is obviously my love of music. So the treble clef and the bass clef. And then I have some others as well. So each one tells a story about a different part of my life.
And if you don't mind to share the first you had, what was the story behind?
Okay. Well, that is because I was very young. I was at school, and I was never really good at one thing when it came to athletics, but I was sort of okay all round. So they used to put me in for the pentathlon or the decathlon. And when I was 16, I was very lucky enough to go to the national championships, the under-21s. Wow. And we were sponsored by a certain famous sports brand. And as a team, we won, and it was a really big deal, and we all got medals. It was brilliant. So we stupidly all decided to go and get this particular sports brand logo tattooed on us. You know, it's a crazy story, but I was young and stupid. But there we go. So that's the story behind that.
Very good, very good. Next one. Right, next question for you, Ben, is what 3 things are you most grateful for?
My son, my health, and my extended family.
Very good. And so far, what's the most beautiful lesson you learned from your son?
To always try my best. He's still young, and he still goes through phases where he gets very nervous and anxious about trying new things. So, for example, we recently tried scuba diving together, you know, and he always teaches me to overcome fear and to just try things, because often the satisfaction we get from trying something new and achieving something far outweighs the anxiety and fear we feel prior to trying it. So he always inspires me. It's great. And yeah, you must remember, William, when we're children, the world is wonderful, and by that I mean it's literally full of wonder. There's nothing bad in the world, and it's only as we get older and through our experiences that we become more cynical and a bit more bitter about the world. So he always reminds me of that as well, which is good.
I think the only thing that, as a child, I remember the only thing that made me a little bit like hope or wonder was about Christmas. It took so long to Christmas to arrive. My birthday took so long. Nowadays, just a blink of eyes.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It was like toof, Christmas. But before, when I was a child, I was just like, oh my God, it took like forever to get to Christmas.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Next question for you, Ben. Before the next question, tell me, as you are a stigma breaker, yeah? Tell me what's the biggest stigma that is more difficult to be broken, like society, in your opinion?
So, I can't speak to from where you come from originally in Brazil. I can only speak from a British perspective, but when it comes to talking about mental health, particularly with men, the British have a stigma about, we don't discuss it, we bury it, we have a very stiff upper lip. And that is the biggest stigma that I'm desperate to break down. And we are making waves with it, but it's still there. And obviously, a couple of years ago, I was working with the army, talking to them about their mental health. And they all were good enough to break down that barrier, break down the stigma, remove the masks. And we had a really good heart to heart. And that's just something that I want to happen in every single household and school and business in the UK, but also around the world. So yeah, that's the biggest stigma, is breaking down barriers and normalizing that discussions.
And what do you think is that? Why do you think people, they don't talk easily about it? Do you think it's a cultural thing, or it's just...
It's a cultural thing. They're too embarrassed. And in England, 1 in 4 people are medicated for their mental health. But for example, if you sadly broke your leg and you had some painkillers given to you from a doctor, no one would worry about it and they'd all sympathize with you. But yet there's still this stigma that if someone is given medication for their mental health, they're embarrassed, they think it shows weakness, they want to hide away from it. And we have to completely change the way that we discuss it and the way we view it. And for me, that starts at school and in the home place, making it normal. I'm sure you know, you're an experienced man. Sometimes even just saying to a good friend, how are you? Are you okay? You don't seem yourself. Sometimes that's all it needs. You know?
Absolutely. I agree with you. Right, next question for you is, who would you swap lives with for a day, if you could?
Wow. Okay, Stephen Fry.
Why is that?
I just think he is such an advocate for enjoying life, for breaking down stigmas. He's also highly, highly intelligent. I'd love to have, 1/10 of his intelligence. And I think he chooses to do some really interesting projects. So I think it would be fascinating to just see what it'd be like.
Very good, very good. Next question, Ben. Let's do it. Right, before the next one, tell me, what do you miss the most of your army career, or the time you spent there? What do you miss the most?
The camaraderie, so talking to people. Within the NHS, there's still a few politics, but the camaraderie in terms of you can just speak your mind. I miss that. And I miss doing some of the fun, crazy stuff.
Great. Okay, if you could have dinner with anyone, living or not, who that would be and why?
Wow, okay. How many people? Just one?
You can put 3 people in one table, just because you are from the blood.
I need time to think about that, William. That is such a difficult question.
Okay, take your time.
No. See, again, I want to have supper with Stephen Fry. I want to learn from him. Okay, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to come back to you about that, because I'm going to write down a few names, because otherwise I'm going to choose 20. So is that okay? Can I think about it for a minute?
Absolutely, I can take another one. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
What is your favorite weekend activity?
I love being outside. So I guess going for a long walk in the sunshine with loved ones and with my son and the dog, and just appreciating being outside, and maybe stop off at a little village pub on the way home and have a drink and then come home. I think that keeps me grounded, spending time with loved ones and being outside. Yeah.
Very good. Good one. Next question, Ben. Say again?
I've got some names in a minute. They're coming, William. They're coming.
Good.
Okay, next question. Let's go for it.
Right. So just before the next question, as a paramedic, I'm sure you know what I mean. You've been through a lot of challenging situations. You know what I mean, with people. Tell me a story that's happened to you that was something very serious. You thought that this person or the situation wouldn't go well, but in the end, you're surprised. You're like very okay. My God, I'm so glad that something. It end up well, you know what I mean, with someone, or a situation that you had, if you can share, or a difficult situation.
I think I was working as an advanced paramedic, so they'd always send me by myself in a car as the first response, and I always got sent to the very serious things. So sadly, the vast majority of people would pass away, no matter how much work we did or how much time we spent with them. And the difficulty there was not managing them, but it was managing the family around them, particularly when it came to children who passed away. I used to find that very difficult. But there have been a number of examples of when I've done my best and people have been generous enough to come back to life, which is good. And I've got a little portfolio in which I put all my qualifications, but also any kind of thank you notes I get. And funnily enough, there was a man called William who was in his 60s. And when I got to him, his heart had stopped and he wasn't breathing. And I managed to work on him, and he made a full recovery, and he walked out of hospital 3 days later. And I've got a card from him, and it simply says, "Dear Ben, thank you for saving my life. Love, William." So if I'm ever having a bad day and I'm thinking, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this next course? What am I doing? I look at that and that inspires me. And I think that's why I'm doing it.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Tell me, what is something not many people know about you?
I'm a pretty much open book. So people know everything about me. But a lot of people are surprised because every couple of years I'll go and do a theatre show. And I love doing it because it's so different to my professional life. So I recently did a comedy in Cheltenham in the theatre, and that was for 2 weeks, and that finished last weekend. And then 2 years before that, I was in The Producers, the musical, which was great fun. So, and a lot of, when I tell my colleagues about it, they always go, wow, you know, and they never quite believe it. But it's just something I love doing when I have time. So yeah. I guess
could do acting? Do you have this vein of acting as well, or be part of a show or not?
Yeah, no, I've always done it since a kid.
Wow.
And, you know, when I was younger, you know, I did a very tiny things, couple of movies, bit of TV and stuff, just for fun. And I guess I could have pursued it, but my parents at the time were very traditional. And so, you know, I went to a couple of different universities and went to get a proper job. But it's something that, you know, music and being on stage, I love doing. It's an essential part of my life. So every couple of years, I like to go and do a show.
Very good, very good. Next question, let's do it. I can't wait to see your list in the end of the list of the people we're gonna put on the table for you for dinner. I'm already curious.
Okay.
Next question for you is, what's the funniest gift have you ever received?
The funnest gift?
Yeah.
Okay. So my amazing partner, she often buys me mugs with inspirational messages on them. And I couldn't possibly repeat them to you because they're very rude, but they're brilliant. And in fact, on this pen is another one, but I'm not going to turn it around and show you because it's got some very rude words on it. But they're always really sweet, but they always empower me and remind me about what's important in life. So she always gives me funny gifts like that, and I love it. So there you go.
Very easy. Next question. Okay, Ben, next question for you is, let me see this question. If you could do something illegal without getting caught, what would you do?
Speeding. I'll tell you why, because at the moment I work in the NHS as clinical governance for the COVID response service. But when I was working on the road, obviously I had blue lights on my car, sirens on my car, and you could get somewhere really quickly in an emergency. And I miss that. So I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but I'd love to do that. Plus also, it wouldn't really get me in that much trouble.
Oh, so it actually just made my day now with something that I never knew it. You know what? When I see those cars, like with the blue light running quick, like it's on the police, I was always wondering if it was like a police, like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't want to show that they were police.
Yeah.
I was trying to always wonder what was that, those cars. So they are the paramedics.
So, I had them on my work car and my home car. But also certain factions of the British Army, they have them if they need to get somewhere quickly. For example, you know, the bomb disposal teams. And also firefighters have it as well. It all depends on the seriousness of the scene they're going to. So yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Just made my day now, because I always was wondering why those cars they have these blue lights, like suddenly just have these blue lights around, like running away. You know, the traffic.
No, it's not always police. It could be any emergency service or government agency.
Very interesting. Oh wow, very interesting. I learned something new.
Yeah.
Next one. Let's do it. Okay. Right, Ben. Before the next question, in your opinion, what's the biggest cause of mental health issues in the world at the moment?
Okay, so we know from research that the build-up of everyday stress and anxiety leads to about 80% of all mental health diagnoses. Okay, so I believe that this build-up of stress and anxiety, because we all lead such a busy life now and we don't effectively deal with it, it builds up, we don't even realize it, and then it explodes. So one of my goals is, when I go through my program with people, is I teach them to understand how and why they respond as they do physically and mentally to stress and anxiety, so that they can prevent this build-up, so they can hopefully prevent themselves getting unwell. So in short, the answer is how we live in society now in the developed world. Absolutely, that's the root cause of it.
Do you think social media is a big part of it?
I think it's a massive part of it, and I do a whole module on social media when I go out and give talks, particularly in schools. I think social media is really useful, particularly with the pandemic as it has been. But I also think it's important we understand its pros and its cons. You know, it's not always reflective of real life. Certainly, for individuals, people will put up how they wish to be portrayed rather than how they actually are. And I think that often gives us unrealistic goals of expectations, because we can't always match them. And that increases stress and anxiety as well. So people need to use it wisely and carefully, and it's good and it's bad.
Good point. I'm gonna skip this one. Look at this question. Would you ever get a tattoo?
Yes, and I have.
No, not gonna. This is one. Right, next question for you is, tell us about your first kiss and your first love.
Okay. So my first kiss, I was about 12 years old. It was with a girl called Katie, and she was 14 and I was 12, and we went to the cinema together.
Oh, very sweet.
Yeah, and I remember going home and saying to my parents, because I felt so emotional about it, I didn't understand the hormones that I was feeling and things like that. So there we go. And my first love was a girl called Catherine, or Kat, and we met at music camp. So every summer in the holidays, I would go to a music camp, and we would play all different kinds of music and do different shows. And we became very, very close. And she was my first love, yeah.
Oh, sweet, very sweet. Next question, Ben. Let's do it. I would expect you to be a good dancer.
I'm not.
Right, next question for you is, what is the most romantic thing someone has ever done for you?
Wow. I guess it's when people give you really personal gifts. So recently, it was my birthday last week, and I was given a poem, you know, and
wow.
That, you know, you can't buy things like that, you know, and it's wonderful, you know. Or, you know, if someone puts together a little box of personalized things just for you to help you get through a bad period of your life, you know, whether it's some home-baked goods, whether it's some toiletries, whether it's just some nice smelly candles to help relax you down, things like that. They're definitely the most romantic things, yeah.
Good, Ben, very good. Right, so I have 3 questions left for you, okay?
Oh, okay, let's go.
Let's do it. Before the next last one, as you mentioned before, that you spent some time in New York before the 9/11 happened, or before or after happened the 9/11?
It was 1 week after.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your experience in New York. What was there? You were there for work or for studies or experience?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit.
I was there for work, and my first kind of task was I had to go and interview the CEO of the only bank that hadn't been destroyed, and she was a female CEO. So it was an odd day, but we were taken on a tour around Ground Zero, and at that time it was only a week on, so they were still finding people. So it was a very emotional thing to do, but also it was a real privilege to do. And I think what I loved about it was that unity of people, all backgrounds, all cultures, all creeds. Everyone was just showing each other love. The local bar that was at the bottom of my road, every time you ate or drank there, you added 10%, and that went into a bucket on the bar. And then if anyone from any emergency services came in, then they'd have everything paid for them out of that bucket for free, just as a thank you. And I had a little roof terrace. I used to go and sit on it and play my saxophone up there. But before I could do that, I wasn't allowed to use it for the first few weeks because the police had to come and clear all the dust off the top of it and search through it. So and I met some amazing people. I really did.
So you went there because of what happened? You went to New York because what's happened?
No. I was going to go there anyway. For work, and it just happened. So the day of 9/11, actually, I was in Canary Wharf in London, which in those days there was only one tower, and we all saw it happen live because I was working for a newspaper. And the next thing we knew, all the fire doors closed on Canary Wharf and all the lights went out, and we were told to run down the internal staircase because there was a threat that it might happen to Canary Wharf as well. So it was a tough couple of hours, but I'm so grateful for the privilege of the experience of New York, and at the time everyone was so lovely, and that's why I've never been back, because I don't think it would ever be the same for me.
Wow, very interesting, man. And before it happened, you've been there before when it happened? No,
I'd never been there before. I'd been to America before and Canada before, but I'd never been there, and I was there about 18 months before then moving back to London. And I've not been back since. One day, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Talkative. Friendly. Outgoing. Yeah.
Tell me a negative one.
Sensitive.
Good points. 2 questions left, Ben. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Right. Next question for you is, which season of the year you feel more connected with, and why?
I've always loved autumn because, particularly in the British countryside, autumn is beautiful. And I guess I'm a little bit biased because I live in the countryside. That's where I feel more connected, more grounded, the colours of the trees. I don't like being too hot, so I like to have a nice thick jacket on and go out. So yeah, I guess for me, autumn. Plus, it's a great time of year for the children in the village. We've got Halloween, we've got fireworks, and then we've got the run up into Christmas, so they all get very excited, so it's good.
Somebody told me once, a while ago, that you feel very connected with the season when you were born. And as you say, your birthday, yes. And actually, my birthday is in 2 weeks' time, and I always love the autumn as well. For me, I remember I arrived in Portugal when I was in March. I remember it was March, and for me, it was everything. Where I come from, Brazil, it's very hot, like a whole year. It's very hot. Anyway, I remember arriving there in March, it was like spring, and I was already feeling cold. I said, oh my God, maybe it's winter. They said, no, Willie, this is just spring right now. I said, oh my God. Anyway, so I remember my first autumn in Europe, and I was like, wow, that's the most beautiful season. And since then, I've been connected with autumn, and I think it's very European as well. As you said about the leaves change, the trees, it's just so beautiful. It's just a fresh air. It's not too cold yet, and it's not too warm. You know what I mean? It's kind of mid.
You got it. Good.
Last question, Ben. Ready?
Oh, let's go.
Let's do it. Before the last one, I would like to tell me, of course, the last 18 months, you know what I mean? The world went upside down. I think it's a moment, it's a journey that no one was never expecting to happen. I think if someone would come to me in 2019, say, William, next year, 2020, the world's going to stop. I would go like, are you out of your mind or what?
Yeah.
Anyway, so when that happened, since then, 18 months, what's the most positive thing you took out of this challenge journey?
I think that the pandemic for England's been really positive because it's made people look outwards more and be more kind and be more helpful to other people. And I've definitely noticed it both professionally and personally. People stop in the streets and say, hi, how are you? Can I help? That has been the number one positive thing out of this pandemic. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Cool. Last question for you, Wiz. Where do you want to be in 10 years' time from now?
Next door to my son and happy. I don't care where, I don't care how. That's the important thing. Material goods are nice, but they don't give us that elongated happiness. So happy and healthy. That's it.
Very good. Very good. Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. I'm going to give away some words and you just tell me one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Yeah.
Politics.
Boris Johnson.
Love.
My son.
Money.
Stress.
Family.
Love.
Sex.
Love.
Life.
Happiness.
Religion.
Strength.
Fear.
Not real.
Good one, I like that. Friendship.
Important.
Desire.
Human nature.
Regrets.
Try not have any.
Success.
Always aim for.
Okay. Wish.
A wish.
Yeah, wish. When I say wish, what comes to your mind?
Oh, something that's magical, a miracle.
Happiness.
Contentment, family.
One word for mental health.
Important.
How about one word for royal family?
Important. they are. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once I think I heard, I think was Simon, you know, the British Got Talent. He said once, America they have, no sorry, England we have the royal family, in America they have opera.
That's true. That's true.
Right, one word for England.
Home.
And one word for real-minded program.
Strength.
Great, great. Let's pretend now, how old is your son?
He is 8.
8 years old, okay. So let's say I'm gonna meet your son right now, I'm gonna ask him, what do you like the most in your dad? And in your opinion, what do you think he still needs to improve on? What do you think he'll tell me?
I think he would say that I need to improve on my domestic skills. And I think he would say that he loves the fact that I'm always happy to play games with him. Outdoors, indoors, whatever. Yeah, he'd say that.
And I would ask the same question to your best friend. What would be the answer?
He would say I should focus self-help towards myself in equal measure to how I always want to try and help others. And he would say that he enjoys spending time with me because we always have a giggle, we always have a laugh, always. Because we've shared some very unique experiences together, so we have that bond.
Very good, very good. And how long do you know him for?
Over 20 years, 25 years. Yeah.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Okay, Ben, let's play now Ben and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But before that, let's play the music one more time, and after that, I'd like to know the list of your dinner table.
Okay.
Right, before you give me the list of your dinner table, and before you tell me the question, I'd like to tell me a little bit about Real-Minded program.
Okay, so it's a program that I have developed through my own experiences of mental health, and then when I was asked to teach some highly skilled soldiers about mental health, I thought I would share with them my experience, my mistake, and my learned coping mechanisms. And they were so generous in their feedback that I officially developed the program. And now I go out and deliver it as a volunteer to community groups, charities, schools, or I also go into businesses. It's designed to teach us how and why we respond as we do mentally and physically to stress and anxiety. Because if we can understand it, we can then prevent its build-up. So all of those physical symptoms that we all get when we're feeling stressed and anxious, the sweating, the feeling sick, the numbness and tingling, I explain and rationalize all of them based on scientific research. And I know it's had a good impact on people. So the purpose of it is to help improve people's lives, make them more resilient and make them happier, both at work and at home.
Good, very good. So before you ask me the question, tell me your dinner table list. Who that will be there?
So it's a bit of a weird one, but Winston Churchill, because he did some good things and some bad things, and I'd like to sit and understand why, you know. And then Martin Luther King, because he did some amazing work in America, obviously, but I think the mix of him with Winston Churchill would be really interesting. I'd like to get them having a bit of a debate about things, you know, coming from slightly different periods. And then the last one, I can't decide whether I'd choose a really famous blues musician or whether I'd stick with Stephen Fry. I think probably Stephen Fry, because he'd be quite a good moderator between Winston and Martin. Yeah. But if I had more space, I'd get loads of other people in there. I'd get Sting, I'd get Garth Brooks, probably someone like King Henry VIII, just people from history that we can learn from.
Very good, very good. Okay, Ben, you can ask me a question now.
Yes, so you left Brazil many years ago, but there must be something from Brazil that you really miss. So tell me what it is and why.
It's a very easy answer for you. And the first thing that came to my mind, my mom.
Yeah, okay.
I'll tell you, it's interesting, this question, because people, they tend to ask me like, oh my God, Brazil is so beautiful, Brazil is hot, this and that, you know what I mean? But what I've learned in my life, since I've been away very young age, I've learned that what you don't have it, you don't miss it. Yeah, it's a tough thing to say, but it's real. Of course, when I go to Brazil, you know what I mean, I have the time of my life. It's nice to be there. It's nice to see family, friends, and eat my food from my mom, and you know what I mean, all those things. And I love that. Yeah. But at the same time as well, I'm not there. So if I'm not there, I don't miss it. Like, I don't have this negative feeling of missing something. But I think the first thing that comes to my mind, I think it's not just my mom, just about her company, her food, her talk, her comfort. I think all of that together, you know what I mean? I think I left Brazil very young age, and when I look back and when I think about Brazil itself, the first thing that comes to my mind, my mom. I think she's always she's an angel. She's someone that everything I do in my life, I think about her. Everything that when I take challenges in my life, and you know what I mean, when I think about, it's just thinking about her as well, that I just want to provide her the best, and I just want to leave her like in a good place. So yeah, the first thing, and of course, you know what I mean, when I think about my country, you know what I mean, it's about, I think we have this spirit of being approachable. It's very interesting, Ben, because when I arrived in Europe, I remember people talking about money, about problems, and I was like, oh my God, that's not a problem at all. For us, we have this approach of life that's, for me, like sometimes when I see people complain about, which is, I understand, I think with the human being, we tend to complain about things or to moan about things, which is normal. But sometimes I remember for me, it was difficult to get to understand that, because when people was like complain about things that for me, I was like, oh my God, that's not a problem at all. That for me is actually nothing that you can, you know what I mean, you can deal with for a solution or something. So it's something I think being Brazilian, I'm very fortunate being Brazilian, because you know what I mean, and live abroad as well. I love being in England. I think I was English last life, because I just found my place here. You know what I mean? I drink tea with milk. So I love England. I think I found my place here. And but I'm very proud of being Brazilian, because our personality, the way Brazilian people approach life, is a different way of other nationalities that have crossed my life. I think we problems for us, it needs to be something like very drastically, something that you cannot even move, you know what I mean? That for me is a problem. But besides that, if you can still face it, you can walk, you can breathe, you can go to work. It's just as a normal thing. But for me, something I miss from Brazil is this approach of life. That's problem. It needs to be something very drastically, something like wow, you know what I mean? Because it's funny sometimes. I have very close friends in Europe, and sometimes when they come on into me like about something, I'm like, oh, this is a problem. Sometimes they get upset with me, but they're my friend anyway. So I feel open to kind of joke about, you know what I mean? And but yes, that's my answer to you. But my mom is the main thing.
I think that's wonderful. I also think that no matter where we are in the world, when we go back to see family, particularly our mum, we almost regress a little bit back to being a bit of a child, because mum represents safety, love, happiness, and that security blanket. I think that's really important. And you made a really good point about a cultural difference to reaction and how reaction is proportional. And one of the things I always say to people is, you know, if something is worrying or stressing you out, you must say to yourself, is it going to bother me in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Make sure your reaction is proportional to the problem. Because people over dramatize stuff now. They do, you know, and you just gave an amazing example of that. So thank you.
No, thank you. And you made me share. I got goosebumps now saying that. But I'm gonna share with you like a situation that I never, even for a Brazilian person. So where I come from is a state. It's like 2 hours by plane from Rio, São Paulo. It's like 2 hours. It's like the middle of Brazil. Yeah. In 2007, I was already living in Portugal. I went to Rio de Janeiro as a big city for 6 months. And I was living there in a place that was, was a good place there. So I was working there for 6 months. And I remember we have concierge in this building, yeah? And this concierge guy, it was 24 hours concierge. And I remember Rio de Janeiro, they had like this massive rain. Like every year they have this massive rain that floods everywhere, like some place in Rio, you know what I mean? Like the less fortunate people, they suffer a lot. Anyway, and this concierge, he was living in this poverty. And I remember like where I was living was okay. And I remember going down early morning and I was leaving the building. I was like, oh, good morning, how are you? And he's like, oh, William, I'm a bit upset today because I arrived to work a bit late. I was like, oh my God, but you know why? He said, William, because of the rain, he literally lost his house because it flowed everywhere in his house. And he started telling me the story. My eyes was growing like that, the story. But he was with a smile on his face. And he was telling me the story. And I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And he was like, oh yes, I'm okay. My wife is there. She's cleaning up the house, take the water from the house. She's trying to save the TV because and he was telling me the story, Ben. And I was literally, I couldn't even say anything. But the way he was saying for me, it like wasn't something like, wow. And I was like, oh my God, he literally made my day, because for him, he was upset because he arrived 15 minutes late to work, because he literally had a tough night that literally he lost everything in his house, and his wife was there trying to save some bits in his house, and he was there and with this big smile in his face. And I was like, I had this conversation with him after I was walking the street. I was like, oh my God, we have so much, and sometimes we forget about it. Sometimes we forget how much we got, how much we have.
Absolutely. One of the big problems working on the vaccination program for the COVID response service is when people complain to us that they had to wait an extra 5 minutes to get their vaccination. And I always say to them, listen, you are getting a free vaccination that could potentially save your life. You know, if you were living in another country, you may have to pay hundreds of dollars for it, or you may have to wait 6 months. You're getting it free. Nobody's died in this instance, you know. Don't worry about it, you know, and again, the reaction's got to be proportionate to what the problem is. So, you know, great example of someone showing resilience and, you know, reminding us what's important.
No, absolutely. And my mom is 50. My mom is 56 now. She turned 50 very young. My mom is 56 now, and when I told her I had the vaccination before than her, just for her to have an idea how lucky we are. And I remember telling her that I had the first dose. She was so happy, like, oh my God, like she just had the second one now, like 2 weeks ago. But she was so happy that I had my first one, and I was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? You see, we did those things for us, Ben. It's just something like, wow, we appreciate a lot. I think we appreciate a lot, you know.
I think where I live now, we haven't really had much of the virus until the last couple of weeks, and now it's everywhere around here, and a lot of the schools are closed, some of the shops are closing, and you know, it just reminds me that we've been really lucky where I live for the last 18 months, and we're just seeing a bit of impact now. But otherwise, we've been very blessed.
Absolutely. Ben, did you enjoy the experience?
Oh my God, I'm just, honestly, genuinely, sincerely lovely. Thank you so much. Great to connect with you. I think what you're doing is awesome. And,
thank you.
You know, I hope many, many people get involved. So
thank you so much. No, thanks for taking the time and to be so open and honest and open your memories in life. I think I could be here another hour with you talking about so many topics. Anyway, William Magic Box Season 2. In 1 year, I'll get back to you again so we can share more different things in life.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. And in the meantime, stay in touch. And you know where I am if you need any support or just a chat.
Absolutely. But before you go, I'd like to share a positive message or a positive quote, something that inspires in life.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but I have a little family signet ring that all of us, when we're 18 or 21, we are given a copy of it. And so the motto is res non verba, which is Latin, and it means deeds, not words. And I guess I always try my best to focus on actions rather than words. So for everyone, it's much more important what we do than it is what we say. And I think that is really important. So that's something I try and live my life by. Try. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All the regards for your son, for your family, and you keep in touch, okay? Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Take care. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye. See you next time.